Some might call Netflix's soapy series Virgin River a guilty pleasure, and I even rolled my eyes at watching it when my wife recommended it to me. We're now at season 4, and yeah, I'm still as sucked in as ever. While Jack is supportive and excited about Mel's pregnancy, the question of paternity continues to gnaw at him. Complicating matters is the arrival of a handsome new doctor who's in the market to start a family of his own. Hope is still healing from her car accident, and the lingering psychological effects of her brain injury will have profound consequences for both her and Doc. Brie, intent on proving the innocence of the man she loves, unexpectedly finds herself in a closer relationship with Mike and one step closer to Calvin's violent criminal web. And even as Preacher forges a new romantic connection, he can't help but hold out hope for being reunited with Christopher and Paige. So just as a heads up, this is going to have some minor spoilers from previous seasons, but I'll keep all the specifics for this current season out of my review. Now, Virgin River is a very angsty show. It's not teen angst, even though there is a small amount of that, but more so, it's adult angst. I am continually shocked by how much drama ensues in such a small mountain community. In my experience, even with the dumpster fire that the last few years have been, I'm not sure that individuals take on so many issues. But that's what makes this show so engaging. I find myself sucked into everybody's drama, even when I'm rolling my eyes at the characters. Hope and Doc are continually in an up and down situation emotionally, and it's only made more complex this season thanks to Hope's accident that she experienced in season 3. Plus, to add more conflict, a stranger comes into Doc's life, which then causes some ripples throughout the town. And with this character, just like with any of the other new ones that enter, a massive air of suspicion is placed on them and their motives. Maybe that's natural in such a small, tight-knit community, but it's also a trope that the show embraces throughout the seasons, so there is consistency there, but it also makes arcs very predictable. Mel and Jack are still the central focus of the show, and appropriately, they take on the majority of the melodrama. We know that Mel is pregnant, but is the baby Mark's or Jack's? Boom, boom, boom. Well, this conflict and intrigue weaves its way through the season, and even when other issues are taking their focus, it's always in the background. Now, I really enjoy and find the family themes the most engaging within this show. I mean, if we examine every relationship within it, family is at the heart, whether that be Connie and Lizzie, Doc and Hope, Brie and Jack, even Jack and Preacher. The family relationships don't have to involve actual family, but it encompasses all those that function as a family. And there are so many more than just the ones that I listed. I mean, each has nuances to them that add conflict or even mystery, making for some captivating watching. And I love the settings and the serenity of the mountains. It also contrasts really nicely with the stress and agitation the characters face as a result of all their actions and situations. Now, even though this is filmed in British Columbia, the setting is Northern California. And as somebody who grew up in California and then visited the redwoods near Eureka and Ferndale quite often, this looks and feels very accurate. Now, if you're like me and the peace that the mountains and forests provide, there are visuals within this show that speak directly to my heart. Now, something that I don't think I noticed before in this show, but I'm sure is really present throughout, there are several moments in each episode where actions and blocking for the actors feel very stage-like. We'll have a conversation happen between a few characters, and as one leaves, another one comes right in, trying to look like it was a natural progression, but it seems like the actor was just waiting off camera for their entry point. Now, I know this is how it happens, but it's obvious that it's happening multiple times throughout the season. And if you're like me and you enjoy the show, this season is longer than the previous seasons, which I thought was nice. Normally, we've gotten 10 episodes that are each about 45-ish minutes. This one, we get 2 additional episodes for a total of 12. I binged it over 2 days, but it was so easy to do so. Many of the episodes end on mild cliffhangers, just tempting us to hit the next episode button and continue with our binge. A lot of the storylines and setups become a bit repetitive, or at least drawn out, but I think there are enough narrative arcs that are in play that keep the repetition less noticeable. This, though, can lead to some of the episodes feeling a little bit longer than they actually are. So at the end of season 2, we saw Jack get shot, and somewhat aggravatingly in season 3, there wasn't a ton of focus placed on that. We get a suspect and some actions are taken, but for the majority of that season, it goes unaddressed. Now in this current season, we get a lot more answers as a portion of that storyline becomes very prominent in the storytelling. This adds more intrigue and of course conflict between the characters and even leads to some exciting interactions. And there are a couple of high emotion situations that get focus within this. I appreciate that the show addresses some important content in respectful and non-judgmental ways. Now, a couple of these center around Jack, and Martin Henderson, he tackles these well as the character. I think the storylines could have been more contentious and even dramatic than they are, but that's not really in line with how the show functions. While the series addresses important topics and sometimes goes into darker storylines, they're all fairly tame in their execution. And that's not a complaint, it's just an observation. Throughout the show, there's drug smuggling, attempted murder, actual murder, manipulation and deceit, spousal abuse, and even kidnapping. And each time, these are fairly sanitized so that they're palatable and not overly shocking. And even when the show attempts to be steamy, it's really tame in the execution. I think this helps to illustrate that a show can effectively tackle topics without having to be extremely gritty to do so. And again, this isn't a complaint or even a negative, just a feature of how this show handles topics. So if you're looking for gritty, this has never been that type of series. There are so many reasons to not like this show. I mean, it's got a bunch of melodramatic cheese, the story arcs are predictable, the characters don't typically do anything surprising, and the drama feels like it's a bit packed in. But then, for all of these reasons, the show does work. It creates a sweet and satisfying watch where the familiarity of the characters and the situations allow us to be incredibly invested, looking forward to the mild antics and the conflicts that will arise. The settings are beautiful, the characters are charismatic and surprisingly layered, and the storylines are engrossing and enjoyable simply because we get to watch a close-knit group of people go through the ups and downs of life together, even if these situations are exaggerated for dramatic purposes. I had fun with this season, and while the feel is more of the same from previous seasons, this one had more excitement and weight to it than season 3 did. Plus, this ends with a couple of big cliffhangers and reveals that are sure to make fans of the show anxious for that 5th season. There's sex, no nudity, some profanity, and some violence. I give season 4 of Virgin River 4 out of 5 couches. So who's your favorite character in the show? I think mine is Doc, but there are a handful that I found really enjoyable. Let me know who yours is, though, in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.